Hello and welcome back to the interlude of In Between and Neither. Last time we started with the 2010 version of In Between and Neither Chapter 3. Only completed the 2010 version because my voice was beginning to give out at the end. So this time we're doing the 2011 version of the same Chapter 3 of In Between and Neither. Changes, as I told in the previous episode, are pretty major because of, I guess it's all the stuff that happened, and we'll address that at the end of this video. Then I will talk about my thoughts on the 2010 version of Chapter 3 and 2011 version, and why it changed that way, as far as I haven't told it yet, and any further thoughts on that. So I'll be reading through chapter 3 of the 2011, so the current version that's on the website right now, but which will be changed later again. Third time is the right or something. So without further ado, let's start reading chapter 3, 2011 version of In Between and Neither. I hope you like it. In Between and Neither, Part 3. The hardest part of waking up from a deep sleep is the transfer from blissful nothingness into the waiting arms of harsh reality. This thought occurs to me as I lie there, still with my eyes closed. Slowly opening them, I am greeted by the well-known ceiling of my bedroom. I can't even imagine how many hours I've spent just lying there on my bed, staring at every single detail on the ceiling's surface, whether I actually saw and noticed them or not. Sometimes I would have been crying only seconds before that. Sometimes I would just be lost in thought, either contemplating or feeling lost and depressed. This morning, I'm not entirely sure what I'm feeling. There's this feeling of lightness, of light and warmth on one side, and yet this depressing weight of darkness and doubt on the other side. Remembering yesterday's events at Catherine's place, I feel so happy at having found a place where I am accepted, where there is someone who actually truly understands me, and with whom I share a bond beyond any description. Yet at the same time, I cannot help but feel the immense fragility of it, like it's a thin, pure fabric upon which I am about to place the full weight of my troubles. I can only imagine it corrupting the fabric with its inky darkness, causing it to turn corrupted and shattering. Rolling over onto my side, I see my desk with a chair positioned in front of it, all neat and orderly as it should be. Through the curtains in front of the room's windows, some light is filtering through. I guess it really is time to get up. A quick glance at my alarm clock confirms my suspicions as I pull back my covers and swing my legs over the side of the bed. I'm wearing my usual pink nightgown. Though it's summer, it doesn't hurt to cover at least one's shoulders while sleeping. Besides, it's also handy if you have to get up in a hurry, and you don't have to quickly put on something rather than rush out practically naked. I'm practical, if nothing else. That I think that this nightgown is also really cute doesn't hurt much either, of course. Call me girly, but I like my gown with its pinkness, frilly bits and drawing of two cats curling around each other. Also girly is a reflection which greets me from my dressing mirror. Standing at a height slightly taller than average for a woman in this country, with curly, dark brown hair and a heart-shaped face, I am not surprised that I have been told repeatedly by others that I could be a model. Pulling the nightgown over my head and dropping it onto my bed, I look into the mirror again. Nothing to complain about there either. Fair skin, no unnecessary fat, and measurements which make it a snap to find clothes which fit me. Everything is pretty much perfect, except for... My eyes glide down my reflected image to my nether regions. The panties which I'm wearing cannot hide the fact that there is where the image of a nearly perfect regular girl ends. I smiled bitterly at this thought. If only I'd been born normal. Just as a plain old girl, not necessarily very pretty either. In a sense, it's very ironic that I've been given this body which makes so many women feel jealous, yet have been cursed, I guess, with something which makes me feel so very different, so very much not a part of what is accepted. and in a way also not beautiful, like a succubus, with its nearly perfect female body, aside from the hoofed legs and spiked tail. So very tantalizing and so near, but extremely repulsing at the same time. I grimace. Part of me doesn't like the thought of comparing myself with some kind of demon spawn, yet when I recall how others treat me, I am forced to grudgingly admit that there's a grain of truth in it. Sighing, I proceed to get dressed. There's no use in pondering like this. My life sucks, I get it. There's also nothing I can do about it but to get dressed, eat breakfast, and head towards school so that I will at least have something of a future. Even if it isn't what I would have preferred. Arriving downstairs, I see that my mother is already sitting at the dinner table, eating breakfast. A single slice of bread with cheese, accompanied by hot tea. I greet my mother and proceed to prepare my own breakfast while pouring myself a cup of tea. Looking outside through the large windows of the kitchen, I can see that it is going to be another warm summer day today as well. I glance at my mother. She's reading the newspaper while sipping from her teacup. I feel somewhat guilty for not telling her about what happened yesterday between me and Catherine, but how could I possibly tell her about Catherine's story? All I've told my mother so far is that I met this really nice nurse at the school with whom I often share lunch. I guess there was no reason to upset my mother. She has been through so much already these past few years. It's curious, I think, that mothers can be so involved with what happens with their children that they can be more affected by it than those children themselves. See my case, for example. I'm the one who has to live with this body and all the troubles which come with it. Yet my mother seems to be the most frustrated and drained by our experiences with the medical system of this country. Or maybe I'm at least as affected by it, but I've been pushed harder and had to tap into reserves I didn't know existed. Thinking about the frequent times when I felt so terrible at everything that I felt absolutely ready to just quit it right there, only to drag myself out from that sorry state moments later, I think I have to agree with the latter option. Years of facing one uncaring doctor after another, as well as psychologists who tried to convince me that I was deluding myself into thinking that I am intersex, that all I could be was a transsexual person or something else, something crazy. Years of uncertainty about my physical identity, combined with the people who were supposed to be helping me, telling me that I'm crazy and delusional. I can still hear them exclaim their twisted opinions. You're just a regular boy with feminine features. You're kind of weird up there, but therapy can fix that. You just want to be a woman, right? It's an endless nightmare. Even now, though it's been about a year since I last visited the hospital or saw a psychologist, it still haunts me. In my dreams and during my waking moments alike, I have frequent flashbacks during which I relive these events, and there are many triggers which will instantly make me feel physically ill, such as when I'm confronted with something related to transsexuality and even intersex. Traumas are a terrible thing indeed. Shaking my head to clear it of these disturbing thoughts, I sigh quietly and drink the last bit of my tea as I finish up breakfast. By the way, I'm going around in circles inside my head like this, I will soon be ready to be carried off by the men in white coats, I think to myself, only half serious. At this point, I notice that my mother has already gotten up from her chair and is packing her bags from another day as a primary school teacher. I get up as well, and after a quick trip to the bathroom to brush my teeth, I wish my mother a nice day and head off towards school. Living only about a kilometer from school, it's very natural that I walk to school. Biking will be faster, but not worth the hassle, and besides, it's a nice route, along the river and through the more scenic parts of the city. It's also about as close to feeling like a part of this world as I can get, walking through the hustle of the city, walking with and passing others like everything is as it should be. It's here, outside and away from home, from school and everything surrounding it that I can feel somewhat free of the burden of my existence, as dramatic as it may sound. The day is still asserting its presence, which is the moment that I love the most of a summer's day, before the worst heat strikes, and the sun hasn't fully risen yet in the sky. It's still somewhat chilly at points, but not uncomfortably so, while in the sunshine the promise of plenty of warmth can be felt. It is so very invigorating. While walking like this, by shops and random people on the streets, I also do not feel the need to avert my gaze. They do not know who I am, nor do I know who they are, and neither of us cares. If I smile at someone, they usually smile back. If I pick up something they dropped for someone, they thank me. I say it was no problem and resume walking. It's all very natural and so very liberating in a way which I cannot fully explain. It wasn't always like that though. Before I discovered what was going on with my body, the subconscious turmoil combined with a conscious thought that I was a boy caused such uncertainty that I had trouble talking to people, would stutter and mumble while doing so, and walking into a store would result in a serious case of tunnel vision due to the near panic that I would slip in at the thought of interacting with people. I guess I really did get over that by realizing and facing my problems. By the time that I'm approaching my school, I'm feeling pretty alright. My experiences with Catherine yesterday have shown me that I'm not fully alone with my troubles. And after this morning's walk, I have the feeling that at least some things in my life are finally sliding into place. Together with a number of other students, I walk through the school gates and head for the main entrance. Everybody is all chatty as usual today. I'm already beginning to feel like a ghost again, present yet ignored by most. Better than hunted and bullied, I think to myself. As I unlock my locker and open it to get to the books I will need for the first few classes of the day, I notice an envelope lying half on top of a pile of books. It is white and unmarked on both sides. As I notice when I pick it up and look at it, it is not sealed, so I open it. There is a single folded sheet of paper inside it, maybe a love letter, I think jokingly. Feeling somewhat apprehensive, I unfold it and read its contents. Before my eyes have scanned the second line of the text, I can already feel the gourd rising from my stomach. It's indeed not a love letter. Scanning through the rest of the letter, I resist the urge to crumple it up and throw it away in anger. Instead, I fold it up again and put it back into the envelope, after which I put it into my bag together with some books. "You found this in your locker this morning?" Catherine asked me, a note of worry creeping into her voice. "Yes, a friendly note from someone, I'm not sure who wants me to reveal my secret to the whole school, or they will do it for me, or something worse," I say, while feeling like things are beginning to turn unreal again as I slip out of my control. This can't be happening to me, can it? "Come, we have to show this to the principal right away," Catherine says, getting up from a chair and fixing her clothes. I nod and open the infirmary's door, stepping into the hallway and waiting for Catherine to follow me. Together, we walk down the hallway, past an occasional student, down a stairway, and down another hallway until we reach the principal's office, right next to the teacher's room and the administration's office. Catherine's knock is immediately answered by the gruff voice of the principal. I've only seen the principal once, when I first entered the school, and my unused registration caused some questions to be raised, so that I was asked to have a talk with the principal to explain matters. I didn't have to explain a lot back then before he agreed to have me registered as being female at the school, seeing the reason behind my request. Opening the door quietly, Catherine steps into the office, followed by me. As I close the door behind me, Catherine is already moving towards the principal's desk. "Sir, we have something you should see. I'm afraid it could be quite serious," Catherine says, handing the envelope and its contents to the principal, who accepts it. As he unfolds the letter and starts reading, his eyes quickly widen to then narrow, as his face begins to take on a serious look. "Where did you find this, Miss Catherine?" he asks. "Alice here found it in her locker room this morning. She came to me with it earlier," Catherine responds. The principal's gaze returns to the letter on his desk. "Alice, we know all about your secret. You are a disgusting freak who doesn't belong on this school or anywhere else. You're going to tell everyone on this school that you're a freak before the end of this week, or we'll do it for you. Everyone here has the right to know what kind of horrible creature is walking around on this school. You cannot keep it a secret. Everybody hates you anyway. As the principal reads the letter's contents, I can feel every word physically hurting me. My thoughts are in turmoil as I try to make some sense of things. I guess it does make some sense with Bruce attacking me before and his threats. My thoughts are interrupted as the principal slams his hand on the desk. Feeling somewhat shocked at this behavior from someone who is usually so calm and composed, I look up wide-eyed. "Unforgivable," the principal says, his voice trembling with contained anger. "For such a threat to be made against a student on this school because of something like this cannot be tolerated." He looks up at me. "Do you have any idea what might be behind this threat, Alice?" His voice is calm again, though with a hint of worry and impatience. I do not know what to say for a moment. "Well, the letter wasn't written by hand, so I can't tell whether it was Bruce or someone else, but he did threaten me a few times the past weeks." I pause. "The way it's written, it doesn't sound like Bruce though." For a few moments, it's quiet in the room. Through the tall windows behind the desk, the trees lining the front of the school are visible, with a clear blue sky as background. For just a tiny moment, it seems like my troubles don't matter, that such a perfect day wouldn't allow a tragedy to unfold. Yet this moment soon passes as the principal resumes. "Well, regardless of what's behind this, I think we have to take it seriously, considering what happened before." At these words, a cold lump of fear forms in the bottom of my stomach. The first time Bruce kicked me into unconsciousness. If Bruce or someone else attacks me again, I don't know what might happen. As the thought of getting killed for the mere crime of being intersect flashes through my head, I can feel my composure slipping away as emotions overwhelm me. It's just all too much. I can hear a deafening roar as the world around me slowly seems to shift and blur. I notice that I can no longer breathe, so I claw at my throat, unsure to find out why. The roar keeps getting worse as I stumble around to find a way to escape. Then everything fades away. Softness, warmth, light, such peaceful sensations. Something gently brushes along my cheek, and again. "Alice." Slowly opening my eyes, I find myself looking at Catherine's face, before realizing that I'm once again lying in a bed in the infirmary. "We do seem to end up meeting a lot, don't we?" I say weakly. Catherine responds by grabbing my left hand tightly, as tears begin to flow down her face. Pressing her hands with mine embedded between them against the forehead, she just keeps sobbing like that for a while. On some level, I realize what's going on, but I'm still too dazed to grab the situation. As memories come flooding back, the feelings of weakness, of being helpless return in full force. Every sense of peace is gone, yet I feel no desire to cry. There has to be a way out of this, right? I mean, I can't just get beaten up, injured or worse at my own school, can I? As Catherine calms down, she puts my hand back onto the bed covers before wiping the tears from her face while she carefully tries to smile again. "I'm sorry for just crying like that, Catherine starts. "I understand," I say, as I reach out with my hand to brush across Catherine's cheek. Smiling at each other, we then share an embrace, losing ourselves for a moment in that one perfect moment of shared understanding. So that was chapter 3, the 2011 version, and it's a lot less violent than the 2010 version, that's definitely for sure. If you were to compare both versions directly like that, I guess, I mean, taking into account the 2010 version was written like a couple of months before I decided to take my own life and was really just done with lots of things, and it was really this cry for help kind of phase. It makes sense that it would be more violent in that sense, I guess. I mean, it's hard just looking back. The thing obviously is that it is semi-autobiographic, and it really shows, just reading through this again, both versions. I recognize so much in the 2010 version because that's also me. Not 100%, but it's at some point in the 2010 version, a lot of my real story leaks through. For example, the mentioning of autoparagynephilia, when with this real fake diagnosis, which a Dutch doctor tries to voice on me once, and that was things like that. This revised version, when I decided to change it, I mean, why did I decide that I wanted to change the entirety of those 3 chapters? I mean, the first 2 chapters, they're pretty much perfect in their own right. I think that even reading through them today, I think that's with the alterations, the few edits I made to them, especially the second chapter, I changed some things at the end to make it the intended emotional impact to be a bit more there, a bit more explicit maybe. But beyond that, I did a good job on those back in 2010. They were really, really pretty good, I think. This really chapter 3 is when you have like this setup. You have this this initial setup between Alice and Catherine. Okay, you've got that set up, it's there, and now you need to tell the rest of the story. And that is the point where you get to the point where you also have to think of what will happen next, what will happen in 5 chapters, and 10 chapters, and 20 chapters, what will keep happening, how will the story end. And the thing is, with the 2010 version, when there are 2 more chapters, I have to cover for both time periods, obviously, so I cannot go into all detail yet. But just for these 2 versions, you see that this the 2010 version is really about, okay, everything is horrible, and there is still this, I mean, there could be hope, I guess, but essentially you're talking about you're just being attacked over and over again, and you don't get any rest, and it's just always this struggle for survival. I guess that's the best description there. And that's really quite horrible. That's so 2010 version was essentially this eternal hell, moment of peace with Catherine in chapter 2, but then it's like, well, it's not getting better, and that's kind of then the focus of the next chapters after that, as we'll see in the upcoming videos. 2011 version. I mean, it's more introspective. You notice it right in the beginning. I decided to not just focus on things happening to me or to Alice, like, okay, the main character is being attacked, but no, we wake up in the bedroom of Alice, and she's just thinking about things, and she's looking at things, and contemplating and remembering things, and just trying to make sense of her life so far and everything, and still being happy about what happened yesterday with Catherine, and it's giving her a bit of hope. And then the whole scene with her mother, and being like, okay, there's the mother we've talked about before, but didn't really pay too much attention to yet, and now we do, and there isn't really interaction yet with the mother. And it's, I mean, understandable in a sense, like, because you see each other every single day, and you've had those years sharing this struggle, so you have talked about everything pretty much, and other than some pleasantries and the weather, like, what are you going to talk about? Yeah, how was it at school? Well, the same as usual. I'm not really happy there, but I still struggle to there. That's Alice tell her mother about what happened. That one day when Bruce attacked her. Maybe I would say that she didn't, because you don't want your mother to worry about things when you already. Your mother doesn't need more trouble. It's better for her if she thinks that things are. You still had those bad experiences, but right now things at school are at least okay. Your mother would like to hear that. Your mother will be like, okay. Alice's mother would be okay. Alice doesn't tell me that things are horrible, so it helps me. Like, that would be Alice's mother's response, and I think that's why Alice would not tell her anything of those things, and that's where Catherine then plays this big role of being like the supportive, almost like a parent, just taking over that responsibility, but doing that because as chapter 2 covers, it is this redemption thing, which I try to also just deepen out a little bit more with the edits I made there, the most recent edits. And so Alice is important to Catherine because you're talking about, in a sense, you could say that it's as though Catherine has her child back. Which is almost like this miracle thing that happens, and I think that's something that is that makes it almost magical on the second chapter. So this edit or this new version I made of chapter 3 is definitely better. There is no denying that this is a better, because the 2010 version was just okay. Well, we're just going to do chapter 1 once more, and this time with more unpleasantness. We're not just going to kick, we're just going to stab, and going in for the kill. That also leads me to this why I'm not happy yet with this current 2011 version. It mostly shows up in the later, the chapter 4 and 5 of the 2011 version, is that I think it went too optimistic. As weird as it may sound, and there are some other elements, especially in light of the 2017 spin-off which I wrote, In Between a Love Story, which is not directly related to that, but it does made me think of what else I could do with the whole story. That's more backstory, like this whole backstory I was talking about. This should be like more of that, and maybe make this love story, make that somehow happen. Like something like that. There is so much potential, and I feel that this 2011 version of chapter 3 is still too simplistic, I guess you would say. So I have not started on rewriting that, but I have some ideas there, and especially we're working through the next chapters 4 and 5 of both versions. That is when it also allowed me to think about it a bit more and think about the parts that I want to keep, the parts I want to change, and overall what In Between and Neither will actually look like. Not just chapters 3, 4, and 5, but also all the chapters beyond it, because I have no idea how long the story is going to be. Like, how will it end? When will it end? Will it ever end? I could just keep writing it just as long as my autobiography is going to be, pretty much. Which I actually have started working on again. And that also provides some ideas, maybe. So I'm not one of those writers who is like, just write down this whole outline of this is what the story is going to be, and there are those points, and they will interact at those points as characters, and this is all that's going to happen, and now I'm just going to write it. And I don't work like that. I like it when the story I'm writing surprises me. I think makes writing so much of a joy to me, when you work on the story and you're as much discovering and being surprised and just having those emotional moments as the person who actually reads your work. That you are basically just there with those readers and experiencing it with them, and that you have just as little clue what's going to happen on the next page. I mean, I may have some ideas about what I would like to happen, but sometimes things happen and you're like, well, I didn't expect that, but this is pretty cool. I think that should be a real big part of it, and with something like In Between and Neither, which is still somewhat based. I mean, it's like, I don't have a person like Catherine in my life, for one, so there are differences. It's not autobiographic, though it does borrow some elements, so that makes it interesting. It does give me this freedom to try things, I guess would be the right word, and not be afraid to experiment. That's why integrating other elements, and that it may be this journey of discovery just as much for myself as it is for the people reading the story. So I guess that's the main reason why, starting with chapter 3, I will be doing some rewriting. May keep a lot of this 2011 version, though. I mean, still, I do think it's a good start. I like some optimism there. I like the this whole introspective thing, with, especially in the beginning. There's a lot of good in there. And I do like that Alice character like that. But we'll see what happens there. So next videos covering the 2010 and 2011 versions of the next 2 chapters. So probably be another 4 videos before I'm done with that, I'm afraid. But I hope you enjoyed anyway. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, leave a comment if you have anything you would like to comment on. And if you're not a patron of me yet, then consider becoming a patron. It really helps me. And subscribe to my channel, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you in the next video. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and see you next time.